Awesome. Welcome back to the Black Sports Network Women in Sports series. I am your host, Brianna DeBose. What's going on, y'all? It is Monday. I have Jessica Brown in front of me, who works for the Creative Arts Agency. She's in property sales and does sports global brand partnerships. Jessica, thank you so much for coming on the show today. I'm so excited to interview you and kind of learn more about your story and all that you do and all of that great stuff. So thanks for coming on. How are you doing today?
I'm great. Thank you all so much for having me. This is such an honor and a big shock to me whenever I got the email. I'm super excited to be here.
Absolutely. We're excited to interview you because you have a really interesting story and I want you to kind of go through it. So I did my little research and everything. And, you're from Mississippi. You went to the University of Mississippi and you were working in football.
Correct.
And then correct. You transitioned now to like the biggest sports entertainment arts agency in the world. Please walk us through how that went down, because you were in football operations and then you transitioned, right? So you were doing all things football operations, doing all this stuff with recruits, which is like super tedious, but very crucial to, football is like God in Mississippi, anything SEC, right?
Yes,
for people who do not know. So you're doing this really important work and then you up and move to New York to go work at CAA. Like, please walk us through how that went down. Like, did you want to work at CAA? Was that like the ultimate thing for you? Or were you just like, I see the opportunity, I'm moving from sports? Like, what was kind of going through your mind?
So I look at my entire career as, I don't want to call it an accident, but I was not intentional with it. Let's say that. So I started work for Ole Miss football, June 2014. I came on as a student worker. I worked that summer for free. I got $0. I got $0 that summer. I started out running the camps. And then from there, it turned into a work study job. So I went from making $0 to basically $0. I was a work study student who made $7.40 an hour. We were capped at so many hours a week and then so many hours for the semester.
Wow. So
it started off literally like enough money for gas and maybe a regular manicure.
Wow.
And that's a lot. So I started off in recruiting, stuffing envelopes, sending out like packages and letters to recruits across the country. Like basically nothing. It was busy work for the most part. It was the work that they didn't have time to do. But I took that and I turned it into that following semester. I got moved up from recruiting to the operations end of things. So I did a little bit of both. I was working in the head coach's office under the direction of Coach Hugh Freeze at the time. And it just kind of took off for me from there. So that following year or so later, we had a lot of internal changes. We had a bunch of people leaving, taking other jobs, doing career changes. And in that, it left a lot of openings. And Coach Freeze called me in one summer. The lady that I worked with at the time went on maternity leave, and I was tasked with basically running that office along with two other people. I was still a student. at the time, so a little stressful, but got through it. And Coach Freeze approached me along with the director of operations at the time, and they said, "We want to give you more money. Would you rather the full-time position with all the benefits and all that jazz, or would you rather a scholarship?" Which would have been the same scholarship that the athletes were on. You get all your school paid for, everything. You get a stipend, all that. And I was like, well, let me be smart about this and not be too greedy. So I took the scholarship. I eliminated my student loans for that period of time, and it worked out. And then the world kind of turned upside down. Coach Freeze was let go, and I was kind of up in the air. I ended up staying there, and it showed me that college athletics, which I love it, love my time at Ole Miss football. But it's not as stable as what I like to be. I like to have some, for sure, set up in my life. So instead of changing my major to something like business, something like that, to finish school early, I kept my major. I have a BS of chemistry from the University of Mississippi, and I work in sports. So the transition from college athletics to the agency was also by accident. I went to a conference called the Sports Industry Networking Career Conference in DC. It is put on by
GW.
Yep.
When were you there when I was there?
Maybe I went February 2019.
Oh wow. Okay. Maybe not. I don't know. Well, that's sidebar. Okay.
Okay. So I went there, and as you know, since you're familiar with the conference, leading up to the conference, you have to send in your resume.
Yes.
And you select a few companies to interview with. So they had all these great companies, great opportunities out there, and CAA was listed. Because I knew I had some connections to CAA through Ole Miss football, I said, you know what, I'm not going to waste an interview with CAA. I'm going to choose 3 of the companies. And in the event that I do decide to go the route with CAA, I can, maybe see if someone can get me an interview aside from the GW conference. But God said, joke's on you. And CAA selected my application selected my resume, to interview me.
Wow.
And so obviously I took the interview.
Right.
And that was in February. I was extended an offer the end of April, going into May. So I took that offer and I moved it to New York City in July 2019.
Wow.
All by accident.
I mean, that's crazy. I'm still stuck on you started working at Ole Miss and, you're working, but you're not really getting paid that much, and it's tied to your aid. For people that don't know, that's tied to your aid. Yeah. So it's if you don't work, you will not get paid. Exactly. And so it's, work study is a whole different thing. And then next thing you know, the coach is like, do you want this scholarship? And we know how significant student loans are right now. It's the topic of discussion every single day.
Still waiting on mine to be forgiven, but go ahead.
Don't join the debt party, y'all. Do not join the debt party if you don't have to. So you made that decision for your loans to kind of, dissipate, to not have that much pressure on yourself post-grad, and you were able to be more selective. And then you don't select CAA, but they choose your application anyway, and you end up there. Wow, that's a heck of a story. And now you've moved from Mississippi to New York. Wow.
Like a fish out of water here for the first year living here. It was a struggle. You can ask any of my friends and my family, I wanted to go home. I actually came very close to taking another job, leaving CAA and taking another job back in the South, going back to college athletics. And I took a different job at CAA. So I started CAA in the reception mailroom program. I left my security at Ole Miss and having my own pace of work and things to do that were very specific for me to do. And I moved to CAA. I took a pay cut. I tripled my bills.
Wow.
And I kind of started my career over again. So I went from recruiting and operations to working in the reception mailroom program at CAA. I was 20, turning 25, and I was sitting at a reception desk, and I was like, you're going to move up. You're going to move up. I had to tell myself this every day while living in almost hell for myself.
Wow. That's tough. Starting over in anything is tough, especially when you already have the experience. Cause you were coming from 5 years at Ole Miss experience and building yourself up and building your resume to now starting over. But let's talk about what you're doing now, because what you're doing now is pretty cool, right? You get to work on these major campaigns, getting global brand partnerships. It's fantastic. I have to hear more about this work that you're doing. And please, tell us what's your day in the life? Are you working from home right now?
I'm currently working from home. Yes.
Okay.
And we have been for coming up on a year. As I mentioned earlier, I like stability. I like a routine. I like a day-to-day. My routine was I get up in the morning, take a shower, get myself together, get makeup, put on my cute little blazer, and walk to the train and go to work. Right now, I get out of bed maybe 20 minutes from my first meeting, and I may or may not do my hair that day. I, just make myself look halfway decent.
Yeah.
And I sit and I aspire, I work all day. So I work in what's technically called under CAA sports. It's technically called sports property sales.
Yes. Yes.
Sorry, my alarm.
You're good. No worries.
City Hall Sports Property Sales, but it's all boils down to global brand partnerships. So we represent the likes of Formula One Racing, the governing body, Red Bull Racing, the United States Tennis Association, the United States Golf Association. Just recently, the LA Clippers for their new arena that's going to open in 2024.
Oh, they're finally getting a separate arena?
They're finally getting a separate arena, yes. And we've been tasked with finding them a naming rights partner. That's what we do. So we negotiate, identify, negotiate, broker their sponsorships and partnerships, deals up to like $400 million over 20 years. So I look at this as the highest level of sports business.
There's levels.
In my own eye, there is levels. I mean, I could go work. I could have stayed working in football and done like football marketing or something like that, and then did like, one-off $20,000 deals here or there.
Right.
But I spend my day, instead of talking to like marketing managers or mid-level employees, we go to C-suite level executives.
Wow.
And decision makers, because we're asking for a huge amount of money.
Yes.
For a major commitment, anywhere from 2 to 20 years.
Yes.
Much different than football or any talent level deal, for sure.
Like, how does that make you feel? You have a seat at the table, essentially. Like, you have direct access to major C-suite like individuals in these huge companies. How does that make you feel, especially as a Black woman in your career right now?
That's a twofold question to me. As a Black woman in my field right now, I feel a little alone in a way.
Really?
Because there's not many people that look like me. There's first of all, there's not many women, and then there's not many Black women. I believe that I'm the first Black woman in my group. Wow.
Ever?
I don't quote me on ever.
Okay.
But I am the only Black woman as of today. I can say that. Wow. I am the only Black woman as of right now. And it's not discouraging, but it's very encouraging. And it tells me like, okay, you have to show people that they can do this. Like, you're the only one now, but you don't have to be the only one next year.
Yes.
So that's what I look at it as. I want to show people that you can do this. You don't have to dumb yourself down or go different routes. This is in my family, which is full of like nurses or teachers or something in a field that is essential considered. It's very unconventional for me to go this route, move to New York when none of my family lives up here. I came here alone. Right. So like that was like strike one. And then number two, I took a job that, I may or may not have a job in the pandemic. Thankfully I was able to be retained, but it was very much up in the air. There was no guarantee for me to still be here.
Absolutely. I think that's something with sports that a lot of people have kind of been addressing lately. Like you said, that sports is not always stable. It's not always stable. This pandemic has surely shown that, this is not technically essential, right? Technically, right?
No technicality about it. It's not essential.
It's not. It's really not. We've seen some politicians try to say, we need football, we need da 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 da. And it's like, no, like you're having people risk their lives to play a game just so you can recoup the money that you invested in this huge arena or, this huge fitness space or whatever, and got into a boatload of debt. And I feel like colleges are really suffering because it's like a trickling down effect in a lot of different just areas of higher ed. But in overall sports, we've seen billions of dollars kind of be lost. Yes. But I am happy that you have your job, Jessica Brown. Jessica Brown has her job. She is employed. She is brokeraging the deals and, making room for everyone else to kind of come along with her, which I love. Now, on a more positive note, like just kind of moving to the side, I guess. What's a recent accomplishment, big or small, that kind of made you feel fulfilled? I try to find something that brings my people that I get to interview joy, because this time has been tough. What's something that kind of made you feel accomplished, made you feel fulfilled, have a sense of joy along the way?
Well, first, we start by saying that I'm still very early into my career. I'm still at the assistant level, which is technically like grad school internally for us, where you take it in and you learn, and then you execute. So I spent the first, I would say, 10 months or so learning how to do this. And more recently, I've been executing on that. So in November, I had the opportunity to close a deal for talent. Was it a property deal? No. But I was able to close a deal for our music department twice, 2 different music deals, and 1 deal for our speakers group. And it was just based on a personal relationship that I had. I had a friend that works for a nonprofit out of Milwaukee, and they had $200,000 to spend. Okay, well, we have the talent, you have the money. Let's get this figured out. Yes. And it worked out where we closed, I want to say it was $180,000 at the assistant level, which is rare internally. Like at the assistant level, you don't close deals, you assist with them. You take it in, you learn, and you figure out how you want to be a seller. But I did that and closed the deal and generated revenue for the company, which is a huge win, not only for myself, but for the company. And especially for music, which is a group that went completely off the grid during the pandemic for the most part. Like there's no tours going on. There's no concerts, like nothing. So that was a big win for me, but a bigger win for my colleagues.
Yes. I love that. Wait, can you tell us who the music people were, or is that like under wraps?
It was a virtual concert.
Okay.
Lil Ma was one of the music artists. Okay. And then there was a panel discussion with Kendrick Sampson, and he is awesome.
Yes, he's awesome. Phenomenal.
He is awesome.
Absolutely.
It was around Voter Appreciation Day, and that was his platform. That he is very passionate about getting young people of color out to the polls, and he does that.
Absolutely. I mean, I think there's been just so much conversation around social justice and around equity and how we can kind of put this to practice and not just kind of sit on our words, but actually like put it to action. So yes, you all got the perfect person for that, because Kendrick is very outspoken. He's very outspoken.
And has unfiltered. Has no problem saying what he wants to say.
Absolutely not. And I love it. I love him for that. Now, I want to kind of dig deeper into who you are and just, what your own value systems are, not even just professionally, but just on a day-to-day. How do you keep going and all of that good stuff? What are 3 words that describe Jessica Brown?
Oh, I hate this question. 3 words I would say to describe me. 1 would be innovative. Okay. I can take a little piece of information and figure it out. Let's do something with what we have. Let's work with what we have. If we don't have it, let's figure out how we can get it. I'm driven. I know what I want. I know what I want my life to look like, and I know what it takes to get there. And that keeps me putting one foot in front of the other every day. And the last one I would say is dependable. I mean, whether it's friends, family, strangers, colleagues, whatever, they can come to me and I'm going to deliver on it. What do you need? Okay, let's get it done. And this is when I'm going to have it done by.
Fantastic words to describe you. Fantastic.
Thanks.
You're welcome. This year has been a lot, to say the least. And I always want to check in with the speakers who I get to talk with, because, you all have some very intense jobs, and there's been a lot going on in the world, from the pandemic to, racial injustices to the election. It's been draining, and we've all been, well, not we all, but a lot of us have been in the house working. And so it's seems like time is moving very slow. Not gonna lie. It's like moving slow and fast at the same time. It's like we're in the house.
Like, I can't figure out which one it is.
Right. It's like, wait, we're at March again. We've been in the house for 1 year as of next week. But at the same time, it's like moving slow because I'm in the house again. Here's what my routine is. Now, what kind of drives you to keep moving forward? You said that, your first year in New York was a major adjustment, and rightfully so, coming from the deep South up to one of the most busy and iconic cities in the world, right? What kind of keeps you driven, keeps you moving forward, even in the midst of a pandemic? How do you kind of move past these challenges?
I know that I won't be saved if I don't put one foot in front of the other. I don't want to say that I don't have family that will come out for me if I need them to, but I have things that I have to do. There's not anyone that's going to do it for me. It's going to be myself. And being the only person of color in my group, and then the only woman person of color in my group, or Black woman, let me say that rather. I know that I have to set a stage and a platform for the people that come behind me. I want other young women and guys and Black men to know, like, you can sit here, you can do this. This is not just for other people. Like, this space is for us as well.
Absolutely. Now, where do you, because you talk so just keenly about your career and where you want to go and that you're secure in that. Where do you want to go? Like, where do you see yourself in the future? What's kind of next for Jessica Brown? Because I am intrigued, because you've kind of like just been not floating, but like just flowing through your career, right? And these opportunities seem to kind of gravitate towards you. So, and you don't plan them. So like, what do you have planned for yourself? Where do you see yourself in the next couple of years? I'm not going to ask the interview question. They're like, when you're in a job, hey, where do you see yourself in 5 to 10? Like, nothing like that. But, just on a general consensus, where do you see yourself kind of going in the future?
It's funny that you mentioned how I just kind of flow through things. And for the last week or so, my roommates had this saying where I don't chase, I attract. And I'm trying to like embed it in my head and realize I don't chase, I do attract. And so I want to attract a promotion in the next year. I have a great relationship with my boss, and it's very open and candid. And we discuss this often. Every time I have a check-in with her, like, okay, well, this is the timeline. So in the next year, I see myself being promoted from assistant to coordinator or professional. And from that, I'm 20. I'll turn 27 this year. So before 30,
you're young. Like, I don't know why you're like, what do you?
Well, sometimes I forget because I lie about my age so much. I'm like, what? How old am I really?
Oh my gosh.
I turned 27 this year. And so I know within the next 3 years that I want to be on SBJ's New Voices Under 30. That is one goal that I have set for myself. I have texted to my friends. I have affirmed it. And that's one thing that I want to attract for myself in the coming years. And then following that, later down the 5 to 10, I hope to be one of the number one leading sellers in sports property sales under Creative Artist Agency Sports.
You know what? The way you're talking and the way that you've been flowing, I can see Forbes 30 under 30. Right. We going past.
We can go ahead and put that down too.
We're going past SBJ, which is Sports Business Journal, if people don't know, because I can totally see Forbes 30 under 30, and we can just ride off into the sunset with that.
Write that down.
Honestly, write it down. Say that Brianna DeBose said that. And then,
mention you in the article.
Yes, mention me in the PR. Mention me in the PR break, whatever they do, and just say, yeah, she said that this was going to happen, and it happened. Like, boom, like it just came out the gate and just was there.
I want all of that, and I'm not a person who likes spotlight. Like I told you earlier, I'm almost terrified of public speaking, but I do want to be featured on SPJ's. New Voices Under 30, 40 under 40, Forbes 30 under 30. Not because I want to be recognized, but I want people to know you can have this seat as well. Like, you can do this. All you have to do is put one foot in front of the other, a good hard working foot in front of the other, and you can get there.
honestly, some of the coolest people do the stuff behind the scenes. They're like, yeah, I don't want the spotlight, but I do some really cool things and I do
I'm a
them
behind the
the
scenes
scenes.
girl.
Yo,
Absolutely.
I totally get it and appreciate it because, like I said, the people brokeraging the deals and all of that, they aren't, trying to be in front of people. They're like,
Mm-mm.
I'm dealing with hundreds of millions of dollars. I don't want people tracking me down. Like,
Yeah. I want
it's
to
a
sit in
no.
the bag.
Hmm. Yes, I hear you. You want your work to speak for itself. Um,
Absolutely.
Now, this interview will air during Women's History Month, right? A month that doesn't always celebrate Black female intersections. And, as a Black woman with her own many intersections, when you think of Women's History Month, what do you think of most?
I think of all the women, like just that history, all the women in front of me that wanted to sit here and never had the opportunity, all the women in front of me that had the opportunity, took it, and paved the way for us to get here.
Mm-hmm.
I think of the first Black agent at CAA. I think
Mm-hmm.
of Melody Hobson, which is a
Mm-hmm.
huge woman of color, Black woman who runs a multi-million-dollar company. I look at these people and I say, I want to be like them because I want people, the me in 20 years, to look at me and say, I want to be like you. I
Mm-hmm.
think that Black women are only celebrated during Black History Month and not much celebrated during Women's History Month. And they get very overlooked
Mm-hmm.
and overshadowed.
Mm-hmm.
And so I want Women's History Month to almost be an extension
Yes.
of Black History Month in a way.
Yes, I agree. I'm like, yo, Black History Month is almost over. It's like a
It's almost
blink.
over.
It's like a
Yep.
blink, and there's so many fantastic Black
Mm-hmm.
figures, not even just in sports, but just everywhere, that the history books that we, grew up on didn't always talk about. They didn't talk about them at all,
Absolutely.
as a matter of
Yeah,
fact.
absolutely.
Like, and so to kind of just squish it all and pack it in 1 month is just, it's impossible. It's
It's
impossible.
impossible. It's
And
impossible.
I agree. It should be an extension, especially
Mm-hmm.
for Black women, because, we're a double minority, one,
Mm-hmm.
and two, we're all into diversity and inclusion and all this. But I'm like, you have to address the intersections, right?
Mm-hmm.
You have to address these intersections because they're so crucial to how we see ourselves, to how, future generations see us, to just moving the needle forward. Right.
Mm-hmm.
It's faster rather than
Absolutely.
slow. So I agree. I totally agree.
I think that I was telling my roommate we went on a walk last night. I moved to Brooklyn when I first moved here and I hated it. But I live in
BK.
Harlem now and
Okay.
it's everybody looks like me.
Yeah.
And it really made a difference on my quality of life in New York. And
Yes.
every time I think about that, I'm reminded that representation really does matter.
Oh my gosh.
And if we don't see us doing the things that we want to do, then we view it as unobtainable. And so you have to highlight these people, especially the Black women that do it, so other girls can say, okay, I can do that.
Absolutely. I mean, I was talking with another interviewee, and we were just saying how she chose to go to a HBCU. She transferred to a HBCU, as a matter of fact, and she was saying how she felt like something was missing in her experience while she was at a PWI, and she was on full scholarship. She was on full scholarship, and her parents looked at her like she was crazy. She was like,
I bet.
like, you're leaving your full scholarship over here? She's like, yeah, something's just missing in my experience that I can't put I can't put my hand on it. I don't know what it is, but I just feel it. And when she went to a HBCU, those pockets that were missing, she was just able to, feel so much more fulfilled in her experience and just more at home, at ease. Like you said, like your quality of life, it matters. It matters so much. And I'm so happy that you were able to kind of find a community that supports you and loves you and all of that within, such a crazy concrete jungle like New York. And my brother's going to be so mad that I said that, but he lives in New York. So.
Oh, really?
Yeah, he lives in New York. So I get to visit him here and there, and he's lived there for almost 10 years. But
oh, wow. He's a native at this point.
Yeah, so we can talk about that later. But my last question for you before we get into some quick fire stuff is, can you please give some advice to young women that are kind of coming behind you, what was the best advice that you received thus far in your career that you can share with young women coming behind you that would love to be in global partnerships for sports? Like what?
I would have to say you belong here. If that is where you want to be and this is what you want to do, then you belong here. And you should take every step to get there. Get out of your box. Like I said, I'm like a nervous Nancy sometimes. And whenever I had to like really be intentional about advancing my career in whatever path that went, I like revamped my LinkedIn. I added people in industries that I went to work in. I added people that looked like me in those industries. I reached out to people like cold email, cold DMs, cold messages, like, this is who I am. This is what I want to do. You're where I want to be. I would love to set up a chat with you. And some people look at that as like almost like unnatural. But if you do it in a natural way, it really does pay off, which is why now whenever people reach out to me, I always take the email. I always take the call. I always take the message, especially from people that look like me, because y'all belong here as well.
Absolutely. I mean, it matters. You never know what that 5-minute conversation or that, email can lead to, or who that person knows or whatever it may be. It's kind of crazy. Like you said, you just kind of flow through it. That can easily happen. But, people don't want to hear the part of like having to do that work.
The hard work behind it.
Like you have to proactively do this stuff to then get to the flow experience and be able to navigate these spaces. Like it can't just be like, all right, I'm sitting back, I'm chilling, I'm waiting for something to happen. Like, why isn't it happening? I'm trying to manifest it in my brain. Like, why isn't it happening?
It doesn't work like that. Like you have to work in. I mean, like I have a degree in chemistry. Yes. I don't have a degree in business. I don't have a sports management or anything in that realm. I have a degree in chemistry. What got me here was putting the work in.
Facts. And that's that on that. Now we're gonna move into some quick fire questions. Super chill, but you have to answer with one sentence or less, or one word or less.
Okay. Super
chill. What would you do if money was not a concern? Like money was just flowing. What would you be doing?
What I'm doing now. I enjoy working. And if money was not a concern, if I didn't have to work to pay my bills, I would still go to work every day because I love what I do.
Ooh, yes. Okay. Down south or up north?
Down south. Every day. Every day of the year.
Oh,
this white stuff falling up the sky. I don't like it. I'm going back south.
It's gonna be some more. I'm looking at it right now outside my door. What's your favorite brand partnership? Sorry. What's your favorite brand partnership deal that you have helped to bring to life?
Bose and League of Legends Esports. So they are the official headset for Riot Games, League of Legends. I came into this, and this is one of the things, I came into this knowing nothing about esports, and like, I can't even, like, what do you do with this? But these people are so passionate about it, and it is the number 3rd league right behind the NBA and the NFL, which is mind blowing to me. You mean to tell me it beat out hockey, it beat out baseball, it beat out soccer? Like, they are up there, and they are very passionate about it. So Bose and League of Legends, absolutely.
That is dope. I'm with you. I mean, I played video games when I was a kid and it was cool, but I never envisioned that it would be so big that it is now.
Like, it's a league.
It's crazy.
I had a Game Boy. I played the Wii, but like, these people, they are serious about it, and they put a lot of work in it.
Yes.
And they are very passionate about their craft.
Yeah, I mean, I sit here sometimes and I just contemplate my life when I see news headlines of like a 12-year-old winning a gaming competition, and he has, or she, $2 million cash prize for, just sitting and just, using their thumbs and their mind and just going. It's crazy.
They sell out the world's biggest arenas.
Yeah, and people are watching
somebody else play games.
Yes, it's Unbelievable. It's unbelievable. So that's awesome. I think, esports is just going to continue getting bigger, especially
Oh
now
yeah.
since we're virtual. So
It
like,
really took off even more than what it was during the
yeah,
pandemic.
absolutely. I can imagine. What's your favorite personal accomplishment? It does not have to be work related.
Moving to New York City
Oh, yes. What's your favorite place to go in the city?
for food.
It can be for food.
Because
People,
I like
love
to
food.
eat.
Absolutely.
So
New York has
I would
fantastic eats.
say Sylvia's.
Oh,
Sylvia's in
yes.
Harlem.
Yes.
And
Oh,
I very intentionally moved to Harlem and 1 block from Sylvia's. So I
ooh.
had to like make myself not eat it every day. Otherwise,
Yeah.
I mean, you got the pandemic and you got pie beside you, like you have
Right,
to
right,
pick one.
right.
So yeah, Sylvia's is my favorite place to go. Absolutely.
Oh, please tell people more about Sylvia's. It's soul food. Now, how
It's
does it
soul
rack
food.
up against down south soul food? Because you would know for sure.
And you know what? You're right. So
Mm-hmm.
it
Mm-hmm.
is up there with down south soul food. There's a place
Ooh.
in Oxford, Mississippi
Mm-hmm.
called Mama Joe's,
Mm.
which is top tier, like your grandma cooked it on Sunday,
Ooh.
Easter Sunday type of soul
Oh.
food. And that's what Sylvia's reminds me of. Whenever I'm feeling really like I need to go home,
Yeah.
I can pop over to Sylvia's and
And
eat. And I'll
just
like envision myself sitting in my mom's kitchen after
yeah.
she's cooked all day long and it's
Uh-huh.
4 o'clock and we're just not eating our first meal.
Yes.
That's what Sylvia's reminds me of.
Y'all hear that? Everybody hear that? So
And then second would be Melba's, which is the sister restaurant to
Melba's
Sylvia's.
is good too.
Also top tier.
Yes. I got my brother wasn't able to come home for Thanksgiving and
Same.
I sent him what did I do? It was some type of carrier service, maybe Grubhub or some other thing. And I
Mm-hmm.
Grubhubbed him some Melbas and yeah, he was crushing it. It was crazy. But
My saint of a boss who I adore so
mhm.
much. She really listens to me, and whenever she heard that I wasn't going home for Thanksgiving, she sent me a healthy gift card for
Oh,
Sylvia's. So I
wow.
had Thanksgiving dinner, and it felt like I was at home around my entire
Aw,
family.
I love that. Ah, and that's the end of the interview. Oh my gosh. Jessica Brown, thank you so much for taking the time out to be with us on this Monday afternoon. We appreciate you. Thank you for dropping gems and just sharing your experience with us and all the cool work that you get to do at CAA. My name is Brianna DeBose. I'm the host for this Women in Sports series for Black Sports Network. Jessica, thank you so much, so much, so much.
Thank you all so much for the feature. I hope that this interview inspires somebody else to put one foot in front of the other and get there.
Yes. Ah, yes. Absolutely.